Have you ever noticed how some of the most profound, truly life-altering lessons you will ever learn are just hiding in plain sight?
Oh, all the time.
Right. And by plain sight, I mean tucked away on a dusty bookshelf right inside the absolute simplest of children's stories.
Yeah, those little board books and picture books.
Exactly. You know the feeling. I mean, we spend our adult lives agonizing over these dense philosophical texts. We listen to hours of self-help audiobooks.
Trying to decode the secret to being a good person, basically.
Yes. But the actual blueprint for all of that, it was probably read to you before you were even old enough to tie your own shoes.
It is a fascinating blind spot, honestly, in how we view literature. We tend to just dismiss children's books as simple entertainment.
Or just a functional tool to get them to sleep at bedtime.
Right, exactly. A sleep aid. But when you look closely at the architecture of a genuinely well-crafted children's story, you find these incredibly sophisticated delivery mechanisms for complex moral philosophy.
Wait, really? Moral philosophy for toddlers?
Oh, absolutely. The authors are taking these massive abstract concepts and engineering them so they fit perfectly into a toddler's developing brain. They are, quite literally, teaching children how to be human.
And that is the exact mission for our deep dive today. We are exploring the text of a children's book called The Hospital Dog.
It's such a great example for this.
It really is. It features a Dalmatian named Dot and her owner, a woman named Rose. Now, on the surface, if you just flip through the pages, it's a sweet rhyming tale about a therapy dog visiting a hospital.
Very standard stuff, right?
Right. But we are going to tear this narrative down to the studs today. We want to understand the mechanics of how this story manages to deliver these incredibly deep story morals specifically suited for a child's understanding.
Because that is not an easy thing to do.
No, not at all. We're looking at lessons about empathy, the necessity of self-sacrifice, and the reciprocal nature of kindness.
Yeah, translating a concept like, say, civic duty into a concrete reality for a 3-year-old requires a very specific kind of narrative genius. You can't just lecture them.
You lose them in 2 seconds.
Right, you have to build a world they trust and then guide them through an emotional experience.
And the author builds that trust immediately. The story introduces us to Dot the Dalmatian, who is explicitly not an ordinary dog, and her owner, Rose.
And we get all these great little details.
Yes, these wonderful grounding details. Like Rose has rings on her fingers and specks on her nose.
He makes her real.
Totally. And they have this predictable, cozy morning routine. Breakfast is always porridge and tea. They always go for a swim in the sea. And finally, they hop onto bus number 78, which drops them right at the hospital gates.
It paints a picture of absolute safety and routine for the listener.
It really does. It sounds idyllic.
And that baseline of safety is a crucial psychological anchor. I mean, a child's brain thrives on predictability.
So they need that morning routine set up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The porridge, the swim, the specific bus number, those details tell the child, you are in a safe, familiar world.
Right.
But that cozy morning routine is deliberately designed to be shattered.
Oh, right, because they get to the hospital.
Yes. The moment Rose and Dot step through those hospital gates and enter what the story calls Wallaby Ward, the reality completely shifts. The child listening is suddenly forced to confront human suffering.
The environment in Wallaby Ward really struck me, actually, because the author doesn't just present one generic version of being sick.
No, they break it down.
They really do. The story captures a massive spectrum of a child's distress. So first, you have a girl named Bee. It's her first day. She's feeling shy and nervous, wondering how long she has to stay.
She has a tear in her eye and an ache in her head.
Exactly.
Which perfectly encapsulates anxiety. It is the fear of the unknown mixed with, mild physical
A
discomfort.
terrible combo.
It is. And for a child in any new environment, whether that is a hospital, a new school, or a daycare, that specific cocktail of emotion is incredibly relatable.
Then on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, there was Gus. Gus is an older boy.
Ah,
Yeah,
Gus.
Gus has already read all his books, he's tired of watching TV, and he is just profoundly bored.
He'd rather be outside playing ball with his brothers.
Right. He isn't afraid like Bee. He is frustrated by confinement.
A totally different kind of suffering.
Totally. And finally, you have baby Katie. She is hot, she is covered in spots, her tummy is sore, and she is just howling. The text actually says, boo-hoo.
She represents pure, unfiltered physical misery.
Exactly. So you have these 3 distinct kids.
It is a deliberate and brilliant cross-section of adversity, Anxiety, boredom, and severe physical pain. Those are three highly complex states of being.
And kids recognize them.
Oh, absolutely. If you think about it from the perspective of the child listening to the story, they have likely experienced all three of those states by the time they're 4 years old.
That makes a lot of sense.
So the narrative challenge is, how do you present a unified solution to such drastically different problems?
Well, this is where I started thinking of Dot the Dalmatian, not just as a dog, but as sort of a universal adapter for the human nervous system.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, because she doesn't have a stethoscope. She doesn't carry medicine. She can't sit down and logically explain to Bee that the hospital is a safe place.
Right, she's just a dog.
Exactly. She can't take Gus outside to play baseball. And she certainly can't cure Katie's spots. But she manages to perfectly calibrate her comfort to each child's specific need using the exact same tool.
It's brilliant.
It is. The story uses this beautiful, repeated refrain for every single encounter. It goes pat and a stroke and a cuddle with Dot.
That repetition is where the magic happens, honestly. From a cognitive development standpoint, this rhythmic structure is not just a catchy poetic device.
It's more than just a rhyme.
Oh, it is the pedagogical tool.
Yeah.
When a toddler's brain hears a predictable rhythm, it lowers their cognitive load.
So it makes the information easier to digest.
Precisely. When the text repeats a pat and a stroke and a cuddle with Dot and then immediately follows it with a measurable change in the child's emotional state.
Oh, I see. Like it shows the result right away.
Right. It asks, is Bee still scared? No, she's not. Is Gus still bored? No, he's not. Is Katie still crying? No, she's not.
Wow.
That builds a highly reliable cause and effect equation in the child's mind.
It's essentially teaching them an empathy algorithm. Like, input is physical presence and comfort. Output is emotional regulation.
That's a great way to put it. It strips the concept of empathy down to its most actionable core. The story is whispering to the listener, hey, you don't need magic words and you don't need complex solutions to help someone who is hurting.
Just be there.
Exactly. Sometimes the most powerful antidote to human suffering is simply showing up and offering your physical presence.
And what I love is how infectious it is. The story points out that Dot's presence creates this ripple effect throughout the entire hospital ward.
It's not just the kids she helps.
No. She calms down a stressed-out doctor. She cheers up a worried mummy. She even plays a game called Tickle Tummy with a little boy named Tyler. She transforms the entire ecosystem just by being there.
Which introduces another massive philosophical concept to a toddler. Empathy is not a finite resource. Giving comfort to Bee does not mean there is somehow less comfort available for Gus or Katie or the doctor. Kindness is abundant.
Okay, so up to this point, the book is delivering a beautiful, comforting lesson. Be present, offer a cuddle, make people feel better.
Very wholesome.
Very. But then the narrative suddenly shifts gears. It moves away from teaching passive comfort and starts pushing toward active physical heroism.
Yes, things get intense.
They really do. And this transition happens when we meet a boy named Joe.
Joe is where the story begins to layer in true moral complexity.
The details surrounding Joe are fascinating to me. The text specifically notes that Joe is deaf, his cough is much better, and his mom is packing up his things so they can go home.
Getting ready to leave.
Right. But right before they leave, there is this incredible moment. The story says Rose helps her dog make the sign for hello.
That single sentence carries immense weight.
It really stuck out to me.
In a book aimed at young minds, this models inclusivity without ever resorting to a heavy-handed lecture. By physically helping Dot make a sign language gesture, Rose demonstrates that bridging a communication gap requires active effort.
It is showing the child that true empathy sometimes requires you to step out of your comfort zone and into someone else's world. You have to use their language so they feel seen.
It elevates the moral baseline, really. It moves the needle from just, be a nice person to make a deliberate effort to connect with people who are different from you.
But immediately after this quiet, beautiful moment of connection, the tone of the story pivots drastically.
It's quite a tonal whiplash.
Seriously. So the ward round is finished. Joe's mom is packing his toothbrush. Dot is packing his sweater, which, by the way, is an adorable visual.
Very cute.
They take a fun ride in the lift, and these 5 pairs of feet head out of the hospital and toward the bus stop.
The environment shifts completely. They are leaving the controlled, heavily monitored safety of Wallaby Ward and entering the unpredictable chaos of the outside world.
And chaos is exactly what happens. Joe sees a friend across the street and just steps right into the road.
Oh, no.
Because he is deaf, he cannot hear the oncoming car. And the story explicitly points out that the adults have totally dropped the ball. It says, Rose isn't watching, and neither is Joe's mom.
A deeply realistic scenario, unfortunately. The adults are momentarily distracted, and a child's extreme vulnerability is suddenly exposed.
Okay, here's where I have to pause and push back on this a little bit. If you are reading this to a 3-year-old at bedtime,
Yeah.
the text says Dot rushes out, pushes Joe back, but the car hits her leg with a, quote, sudden loud smack. I am genuinely skeptical about throwing vehicular trauma into a bedtime story.
It sounds a bit intense.
Right. A car hitting a dog with a loud smack. Doesn't that just induce anxiety? Why shatter that safety for a toddler?
It feels jarring to us as adults because we project our own anxieties and our deep understanding of mortality onto that moment. We know how bad a car crash can be.
Right, exactly.
But from a developmental perspective, that sudden loud smack is functionally necessary to complete the moral arc of the story.
How so? Because honestly, it just seems cruel to the dog.
Think about what empathy has looked like up to this point in the narrative.
A pat, a stroke, a cuddle.
Exactly. It is entirely passive. It is safe. It costs Dot absolutely nothing to provide that comfort. But profound moral development requires an understanding of sacrifice.
Oh, I see where you're going.
If doing the right thing never costs you anything, is it truly a moral act?
Ah, I see the angle there. It is testing the limits of her empathy.
Exactly. By introducing a real physical threat, the author forces a choice. Dot sees Joe in danger, and without hesitation, she trades her own safety for his.
She takes the hit.
She pushes him back and takes the impact. For a child processing this, it vividly illustrates that helping others isn't always just about being soft and cuddly in a warm hospital room.
Sometimes it's scary.
Yes, sometimes protecting a friend requires immense courage. It transforms Dot from a passive therapy animal into an active, selfless hero.
It bridges the gap between comforting someone and actually protecting them.
Very well put.
But the cost of that protection is steep. Which brings us to the final act of the story, and what I think is the most brilliant structural choice the author makes.
The reversal.
Yes. Because Dot saved Joe, the entire narrative paradigm flips. The caregiver suddenly becomes the one in desperate need of care.
Actions have consequences, even when those actions are heroic. The author doesn't magically wave a wand and make Dot okay on the next page.
Which would be the easy way out.
Totally. But she has to live with the physical aftermath of her sacrifice.
And the book lays out that aftermath in detail. There's a trip to the vet, an x-ray, and the diagnosis is 6 weeks in plaster. Now, here's another thing I wrestled with.
What's that?
A 3-year-old doesn't really know what 6 weeks is. Time is an abstract concept at that age. And plaster might not mean much either. So how does the author convey the weight of this consequence to a child?
Through the one emotion every child understands deeply: boredom. The author doesn't rely on medical jargon to explain Dot's suffering. They rely on the restriction of freedom.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. The text tells us Dot is at home and she has a limp. She can't jump, she can't climb, she can't go swimming in the sea, she can't ride bus number 78.
Her entire routine is gone.
And most importantly, the text tells us she is incredibly bored. Is she feeling happy? No, she's not.
Do you notice the parallel the author is drawing there?
Yes. She is experiencing the exact same feelings that the children in Wallaby Ward felt. She is physically uncomfortable, she is confined, and she is bored, just like Gus was.
The hero has been brought low. In real life, young children tend to view their caregivers, whether that is a parent, a doctor, a teacher, or even a therapy dog, as invincible beings.
Yeah, adults don't get hurt.
Right. Caregivers are the providers of comfort. They are never the recipients. By placing Dot in a cast and making her explicitly unhappy and bored, the story shatters that illusion of invincibility.
But it does so in a safe, comprehensible way.
Exactly. It teaches the child that absolutely everyone, even the strongest helpers in our lives, experiences moments of deep vulnerability.
Which sets up the ultimate payoff of the book. Dot is lying in her bed, miserable, and who shows up at her door?
But the best part.
It is the children from Wallaby Ward. Joe, Bea, Katie, Tyler, and Gus. All of them arrive at her house. And they deliver this incredible line to Dot. They say, "We are visiting you like you visited us."
That single sentence is the thesis statement of the entire narrative.
We are visiting you like you visited us. It just hits you right in the chest when you read it. So let's unpack the psychology here. What does a child actually take away from that moment?
It synthesizes everything they have just heard into a masterful lesson on reciprocity. And crucially, it does it without ever being preachy.
It doesn't lecture them.
Right, it doesn't wag a finger and say, you must be nice to people who are nice to you. It simply demonstrates that kindness is a circular economy.
The circular economy of kindness. I love that.
The children in the story recognize that the balance of power has shifted. Dot gave them comfort when they were vulnerable. Now Dot is the vulnerable one, so it is their duty, their turn, to provide the comfort.
And they know exactly how to execute that duty because they learned it directly from her. The story ends with the children bringing Dot a biscuit and returning the exact same favor she gave them, a pat and a stroke with Dot.
Full circle.
They use her own empathy algorithm to heal her. And when the book asks this final question, is she enjoying it? The answer is yes, a lot.
That ending proves that the children did not just passively receive Dot's kindness. They internalized it. They learned how to become caregivers themselves.
Which is huge.
Think about how empowering that is for a toddler listening to this story. It shows them that they are not just helpless recipients of care in a big, scary world.
They have agency.
Yes, they have the agency, the capacity, and the responsibility to step up and be the heroes for someone else when the time comes.
It is a beautifully closed loop of compassion. So let's step back and look at the massive journey the simple little book just took you on. We started with the safety of a morning routine, a swim in the sea, and a bus ride.
Very peaceful.
Then we walked through the doors of a hospital ward to learn about the universal regulating power of physical comfort.
The empathy algorithm.
Right. We witnessed a dramatic, split-second rescue that taught the hard, necessary lesson of selfless bravery. And finally, we ended with a heartwarming reunion that proved kindness always finds its way back to you.
It really is a remarkable piece of moral engineering disguised as a simple rhyming tale about a dog in a cast.
It absolutely is. But before we wrap up today, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over based on everything we've uncovered.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've spent this entire deep dive talking about how these stories are perfectly calibrated tools to teach children how to behave, how to regulate their emotions, and how to navigate the world.
But if we zoom out and connect this to our own lives, look at the adults portrayed in this story.
Oh, that's interesting.
You have the distracted mothers at the bus stop who let a child wander into traffic. You have the stressed out doctors in the hospital ward who needed a dog to calm their nerves.
The adults are kind of a mess.
They are. It raises a really provocative question. We buy these books to teach our kids how to be good humans, but at what age do we adults start forgetting the simple, profound power of a pat, a stroke, and a cuddle?
Oh, that is such a good point. We overcomplicate everything.
We do. Think about the last time you tried to solve a friend's anxiety or your partner's frustration with unsolicited advice or cold, hard logic.
Guilty is charged.
When in reality, all they probably needed was the adult equivalent of Wallaby Ward empathy. Perhaps the real takeaway here isn't just understanding how children learn morality.
What is it then?
It's asking how we can bring that stripped-down, unconditional presence back into our own grown-up lives.
Because honestly, whether you're a shy toddler named B on your first day at the hospital or an adult dealing with an incredibly stressful week at work, sometimes the greatest gift someone can give you isn't fixing the problem for you.
It's just sitting with you in the ward.
Well, that is a fantastic thought to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the story of the hospital dog. We hope it made you look at the simple stories sitting on your bookshelves a little bit differently. We'll catch you on the next one.